Welcome, everybody, to this week's podcast. This is Podcast Time Machine.
And today we'll be talking about Transformers More Than Meets the Eye.
And as always, I'm your host, Mike.
And this is Rob.
And we're going to go a little more in depth how the Transformers actually came from tin cans.
Well, that's a very interesting tidbit, in fact.
It actually is true, though. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I'm sure, and then I'm sure it is. But even before then, why was it such a big hit before, when it hits the States, right? Why wasn't it even a thing?
Well, it's always a big thing because Japanese makes good toys and cartoons, and we just wind up taking it.
That's right. So even before Transformers, I think I don't want to go into a whole history lesson on anime, but just to understand why Transformers.
Oh, so you don't want to go into the first time somebody drew it on a cave wall or something?
That's right. Me Gundam.
Me Gundam fight Sabretooth.
But before that, I guess a lot of people attribute the rise of what they call mecha, quote unquote mecha, anime and Japanese animation to World War II, because after World War II, you have all the tanks and whatever, and everyone was so interested in them. We won the war on someone lost the war with the same mechas, but that was the main item used in battles, right? Airplanes, tanks, whatever.
Right.
So yeah, and so so after World War II, everyone was big on mecha, big on robots and stuff like that. I think it started with Astro Boy, and then it became again, I'm not going to go into each one, but just became one thing after another. Gigantor. I'll just say the American versions of these anime. Right. Gigantor, right. Tranzor Z, and then Gundam. Everyone knows Gundam. But I think the goal of each of these was, yes, to entertain people, but they also found out that like anything, they wanted to get more money, right? So,
well, they wanted to make money in general, if you think about it, because right after the war, like you said, there was a time where they needed to start making money and rebuilding. And from there is when they started going to the bases, like I said, and getting the tin cans. And that's when they started to make the robots, like you said, and selling them.
I don't know about in Japanese over in Japan. They didn't. Well, right. So they didn't know. They really didn't know about the trying to sell these toys. Right. They tried to. Perhaps they did that with tin cans and stuff like that in Japan. I don't know. But the toys didn't really have a market until the Gundam movies came out. I don't know, 1980 something, right?
Well, no, in the 70s, that's when they started making these tin robots, and they started getting big. Now, as far as cartoons go, I agree. There wasn't a cartoon based off these robots. They were just toys. Takara Tomy are the ones that took the tin cans and started making just regular old little tin robots. That's all they look like, were tin robots.
While I agree that it was not a big hit. It was like something that wasn't really. They tried to make a hit out of it, but it didn't really catch on.
Right. It was the beginnings of it, so it didn't take off right away. No.
Yeah, it didn't hit till after the Gundam movies, the two Gundam movies in 1981, prior to Transformers. Right. They already had movies in Japan for Gundam. Then the toys started becoming very popular. And then from there, Voltron came out in 1981, Macross in 1982, and then because of the success of those, then we got Diaclone, and what was the other one? Microman. So,
which were the first transforming ones from other vehicles and stuff.
That's correct. That's correct.
So that's correct. And that's that. It was two separate things, I believe. Diaclone was the ones that just transformed from vehicles. Microman started off as an interchangeable robot that transformed, and then it built from there, transforming into other things too. So it was like a progression from there.
Right.
And again, you add in, like you said, the Gundam and all that, and then robots in general really started getting big, and that's when Hasbro on our side of the ocean, that's when they're like, hey, let's go to Japan and steal something so we can make some money.
Right. That was the beginning of the end of that one. So.
Right. And that's when they went to a toy show. I don't remember the year. It was in the early 80s, obviously, because Transformers came out in the early 80s. They went around to different companies and said, hey, we'd like to bring your stuff over. And a lot of them wanted to get out of here. You ain't taking our stuff. But then Takara Tomy said, yeah, sure. Go ahead and do it. And that's when they brought over the idea of the Transformers. And that's when they brought it back over here. And Takara Tomy still had the guy who was the head of the company still had rights to it and still had input on it. It wasn't like he just said, here, take it, and Hasbro took over. He still had input on everything.
That's a smart idea. If I were him, I'd do the same thing.
Yeah, it's like, here, I just built this thing from scratch. Here, just have it.
And especially with the boom of the interest, right? Like you've got, it's great in Japan, and now American, US, like dollar amounts, right? Like you could just see dollar signs in your eyes when you hear someone from the US wants to buy your toys or buy your ideas.
Right, exactly. And in the original series of when it was still in Japan, there was some of the Transformers that we know now. Like there was like one or two. I believe Optimus was one of them. He looked pretty similar to who he did in the Transformers line.
Well, didn't they start off as a comic books? That's because the comic books was in May 1982, right? And then the series didn't start till September 1984. And so didn't Marvel have a say on like even name Optimus and Megatron?
Yeah, basically the guy who was one of the people involved in the comic book and went to the one guy and basically said, hey, by Monday, and this was like on a Friday afternoon, hey, by Monday we need 20-something names of these Transformers for the comic book.
Right.
And then when he said, okay, he pulled it off and said, here's all the names. And he's like, okay, well, by tomorrow we need a whole backstory and everything else. And the guy pulled it off.
What imagination you have had to do that, right? It's like the names I could see, right? Like like how do you come up with Optimus Prime and Megatron? You probably could just brainstorm all weekend. We could probably do that, right? But like come up with this whole backstory on, I guess I think what was the comic book? The comic book's backstory was different than the show backstory, no? Slightly,
because the same guy, I believe, that wrote the comics you remember on the back of the toys, you'd have like a little thing you cut out.
Yeah, like the red thing and
he gave the background of the character. I
believe
it was the same guy that wrote that too.
Nice. Yeah.
So they were very, very similar. And he was probably sitting there like saying, okay, it's a robot that turns into a gun, Megaton. Mega Bomb.
Yeah.
Megatron.
I would do that too. I would just sit around my house, kind of just looking at stuff. I'll be a laptop, fishing rod, top rod. That's it.
Top rod. It's the newest Transformers. He goes from a laptop into a fishing pole.
That's right.
If you need to surf the internet and catch dinner, Top Rod is dinner for you. Yay, Hasbro, don't steal that from us.
We'll have to make up our own line and do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we'll sell 3.
Just slightly under our subscriber level.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, and the original, there wasn't a lot in the beginning as far as different characters.
No,
I believe 20 something, including good and bad, Autobot and Decepticon.
Yep. Yep.
And what's pretty cool is think about today's environment and think about Megatron. Okay. Oh, hey, it's 2018. We're going to make a gun that looks like an actual German Luger, and we're going to sell it to kids.
Yeah, I know, right? And it looks like a gun, like it fits in your hand the same way, and like
it's a really good representation of a German Luger.
Yep, I agree.
I think one of the stories was the guy, one of the I don't know his job in Hasbro, but he was traveling with the prototype, and they stopped him. And so he had to sit there and transform the gun to show him that it was a toy.
Imagine that you're going through to show someone here's my new idea, and it pulls out this thing. They're like, whoa, man, I don't want any trouble, man.
I don't want no trouble. Where's your permit for that?
Yeah.
For a robot, dude? But yeah, you would have never got away with it these days. Yeah. No way. No way.
No way.
But yeah, so
but Megatron definitely was. I don't know about you, but Megatron was really one of the cooler toys. I this might not be on our thing to talk about. I think it's out of all of them, that was a lot of kids, at least Kermit's, mine and Kermit's opinion. We both love Megatron just for the fact that it turned to a gun.
Right.
We couldn't quite understand what or we couldn't quite grasp the weirdness of that, because it's in robot form he's got this bazooka on his arm, and then when he and then what does he transform to? It's this little pistol.
Yeah, right. That's the funny part. It was what's the logistics of this don't make sense. Yeah. I'm this huge robot. I'm shoo. And now I'm a little gun. And here's Starscream you guys stop! Pew, pew, pew. It's okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's right.
But as a kid, you're oh my gosh, this is awesome. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a gun that transforms into a freaking robot. It's I'm all about that. And I was always partial to villains anyway. Go ahead, say something. Enjoy yourself.
No, I wasn't. But I wasn't saying anything. I mean, I was kind of with you on for Transformers. The Decepticons were kind of cooler because they got the jets, they got the gun, they even got the first with the Constructicons, where they all formed into one.
Devastator,
yeah, they were the first ones, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
For at least the Decepticon in that thing, right? So then because after that, then they had Autobots had their own version of the airplanes.
Yeah, right? yeah. I don't remember who they created, but I have to say my close second to Megatron was Soundwave, though. Easily,
yeah.
Because number one, he had a cool ass voice.
Yeah.
Eject.
And then he had that little bird that comes out.
Yes, he had the panther or whatever. He had the bird. He had the little guys that pounded the floor.
Yeah. Yep. I like the little bird though, because that was the most useful out of all of them.
Yeah, because it could do reconnaissance for him and spy and stuff.
That's what his whole thing. Soundwaves was reconnaissance. So
right. And it was just cool because it's here, I'm this transformer that I transform into a cassette player, and I eject cassettes that transform into freaking things too. It's this is awesome. So I'd have to say they were my top two. I know everybody loved Optimus and stuff, but I was never.
Not
me either.
Yeah. He was okay. He was cool and all, but because one thing I didn't like about him is when he transformed him, you had to put in his little fists in manually. It wasn't part of the transform. You just kept it in the trailer.
Right. I mean, as iconic as it is, Autobots roll out. And
Autobots transform and roll out.
As iconic as the actor that did his voice and stuff.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Megatron. Give me Frank Weller.
Yeah.
He did the voice of Megatron.
Yeah, right.
Give me that. Yeah. That's the one that I really resonate with. You know what I mean? And
so with the Autobots too, it's they have no they're cars. The most of them are, except for the exception of the Dinobots, right? The Dinobots are really cool.
Yeah, well, yeah, Grimlock.
Yeah, they really kicked ass as
but they weren't initially there, so they came a little bit later, and I think that's what revived it a little bit too, because after a couple seasons, it started to die out a little bit. I agree.
When Dinobots came in, and then it kind of revived it. Yeah, I agree there, because they were so not only they were cool toys, but they were cool on the show as well. Like they didn't give a crap about Optimus's leadership. Really, they really, I mean, they did in a way, but like only if it serves their needs, right? Like they were mostly destructive things, and like they wouldn't go help people, right? But if you're saying, Grimlock, go beat this Decepticon up, he'd more than like he'd love to do that. So
right, Grimlock and Optimus's relationship is like me and you. They respected each other, they loved each other, but they really didn't listen to each other.
What you saying again?
Yeah. It's like, hey, Rob, would you mind going to do this? Rob, no, do that. Rob, do this.
I'll be like, I'll see what I could do.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they really revitalized it. And
but back to what I was about to say. So the cars, like they really had no advantage transforming into the cars. They could walk faster and jump like faster than rolling into the cars. The only thing they had the cars if they're in a city somewhere and they need to fit in. Right?
I think that's what it was more about, was fitting in. And
but most of the time they're in the desert and crap, weren't they?
Well, their base. Okay, all right. In the cartoon. Yeah, in the original cartoon series, I'm not talking comic book or nothing. Right. Original cartoon series, when they left Cybertron and came to Earth, they crashed into that volcano, and they stayed dormant for thousands of years until the volcano erupted. That brought them all back online. So their base of operations was in that ship,
right?
In the volcano. So
but
it wasn't really it was kind of a desert by that time.
So the computer decides to have them fit in by having to turn into something that's not around in like at least few hundred miles. Dude,
I live in the desert.
It's represented both in the comic books and the show that there's really nothing around.
But they still intermingled with other places on the Earth. I mean, they went to other places, so how were they going to go there and mingle?
Why did they have to mingle? Like, why did the computer say, okay, to fit in here, when even though like there's this vast desert with thousands of miles of desert, right? Like, I'm just going to pick a city and say,
well, did the Decepticons attack and start doing stuff, and that's why they got involved?
Well, how they resurrected was the volcano erupted. Right,
but they weren't instantly cars, though. They didn't like wake up and go, "Oh, I'm going to be a Volkswagen."
Well, no, the computers did that to them.
Okay, well, maybe it was because it scanned the Earth and said, "All right, for you to fit in here, you're going to have to do with that." Would you rather them transform into a fishing pole? Like Top Rod?
No, but like, hey, here's a desert. Maybe transform into
a cactus so they could go like this. Let's transform.
or the animals in that region.
But it wasn't it that you're talking Beast Wars. They weren't animals at first.
Well, that's fine, but I'm just saying that the original Transformers, they could have had. So let's say, all right, given the premise, let's say, okay. Let's say, okay, the computer did some calculation for the whole Earth. Let's give that premise an okay, right? Like, and they said, and also calculate, humans was the topmost thing here, right? Okay, let's give that premise as well. Like they really gave Decepticons a way more advantage over the Autobots. Like, if they're if they're going to battle each other, it's just like, in the middle of the desert, why do they have to fit in? Like, you need destructive things. You need guns. You need
But you're thinking like an evil Decepticon, dude. They're not destructive. The Autobots were peaceful. Yes, they fought the Decepticons.
They had to at least defend themselves.
Right, but they were more peaceful. And I think that gave the impression of them being more peaceful. Hey, jump inside of me and let's go for a ride. as compared to, I'm a jet and I'm going to freaking fire missiles down at you.
Well, how about a tank, right?
There was a tank, wasn't there?
Yeah, but was it not for the Autobots?
Initial ones. I thought there was something like a tank.
There is like you've got an ambulance with like it's kind of.
Hey, well, that's to help people again.
Yeah, but it's kind of useless without the human inside it.
If you go logistically and really think about it in the real world, yes, it's pretty stupid. I agree with you.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you. It makes sense in the world of the cartoon, though, why they did it.
I mean, I still don't think that makes too much sense. Because it's like...
How much sense does transforming robots make to begin with?
Well, but that's why you have to accept some premises, right? Let's accept there's a place called Cybertron. I
don't have to accept anything.
Because if we don't even accept that part, we don't have a show. You only have a premise for the show or the toys or the line. So
you're telling me I have to accept Cybertron, but you can't accept that they transform into cars?
No, I can accept it, but why? Why? What's the reasoning behind it?
It's better to intermingle with humans. Again, jets and guns and tape recorders aren't as much of a thing.
But what? Right before they crash landed, what were they doing? They were battling each other.
Right, and they weren't transforming.
Right. So when I wake up, when the computer woke up from that
slumber,
like, and the first thing it remembers is that that the last thing I remember was like we were in a battle. Autobots were battling the Decepticons. Okay, Decepticons, here's a bunch of destructive things that you could transform into. Autobots, here's some things you could kind of hide in and tuck away in if you're in a city that's possibly hundreds of miles away.
Again, I'm not agreeing with the computer. I would have done things differently. But if you were, I think it was better, in my opinion, if you're going to intermingle on a regular basis with humans.
Who knew that? Who knew that?
You would assume the computer scanned it, saw what Earth was like, saw how people interacted with each other, saw all that stuff, and made the calculated guess. Hey, our computer's already right now. Look at Hal. Hal killed everybody on the ship. I'm not agreeing with everything the computer did.
Okay, again, let's go back to the computer then. All right, fine. Let's give them the premise that it scanned the whole Earth and said, okay, humans are great, right? You know, for some reason it didn't understand that there's good and bad humans, like there would be good and bad robots. But okay, so but why? And why integrate with them? You could have gave the Autobots just as much defensive power as the Decepticons' offensive power.
So you're not saying that they could defend themselves? I think the Autobots did fine.
Yeah, when they're robots.
Okay, but how much did they really, in the scheme of an episode of the cartoon, fight as their
Starscream did it all the time.
Well, he wasn't happy with himself. Well, he was a freaking jet. I mean, jets were meant for fighting. I agree again with that. But Megatron wasn't always the little gun.
Yeah, that's true. This is true, and it did make sense for him to be the little gun, right?
Right. And what was Soundwave going to do? Play music really loud? Like I'm going to play death metal.
The tank, right? Well, and even then, like even fitting in and reconnaissance, Soundwave has by far the better transformation ability for reconnaissance and fitting in than any of the Autobots.
I agree. Let's agree that the Decepticons did a better job.
Well, they got the better end of the deal. I don't think they chose it, but yeah.
Again, and maybe that made him look like the Autobots more of an underdog too, so that when they did win, it was like, wow.
Yeah, agree. It was for story, but still, I don't quite agree. I don't quite get the logic of that. They really came out with the bad end of the stick there.
Right. I could agree with you on that. Definitely.
I'm surprised how they made it that far to survive to like the movie.
Right. Well, they did, and again, they kind of faltered after a couple seasons of the original cartoon.
Yeah.
And that's when they kind of added in some new people, and that's when that original cartoon movie came out.
Well, the cartoon movie was near the end.
It was after 3 or 4 seasons of the cartoon.
Right in the middle, you had the Dinobots and the Constructicons, both at the same time, which definitely
reinvigorated the series.
Yes,
I agree,
especially after like things like Voltron, right? Like where you have things getting pieced together, and that's
then
why
let's not forget the GoBots, who came out actually
before,
a couple months before the Transformers did.
Yeah, but they
went like a shooting star and went bright and died out.
Yeah, I mean, I like GoBots. I watched them. I had GoBot toys. I had and watched the series as well, the TV series. And like, I mean, I had a lot of like, so coming from the Philippines, like I actually had like Asian toys. Yeah. Not to mention when we got here in the US, I also was like, that's my parents knew, right? Like, and I was drawn to those type of things. So I do have like these no-name things that were around at the time, and but GoBots I was definitely leaning towards GoBots just because they felt more, for me, they felt more Asian. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they were small, they didn't cost as much, and the cartoon was more for kids.
Yeah, well, Transformers
was you could watch as an adult and enjoy it. The GoBots with their voices and the storylines were very kiddish.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I agree with you that with the TV series, the cartoon. I didn't like it as much as the Transformers, but I did watch it.
Wasn't that one robot like, oh, they talk like that? Didn't he? I don't remember what his name was.
Or was that the leader of the bad guys?
No, it wasn't the motorcycle. It was he had like a big square face, and he was like this. His mouth was like pulled out. He's like, oh no, or something like that.
I don't remember.
I don't remember his name either, but he was ridiculous, dude. It was beyond ridiculous.
But at least the dispersion of what they could transform into was better, right? Like you had the leader of the bad guys was a motorcycle leader, of the good guys was a fighter jet, right? But you had like it was like they kind of made it even. It was more even than the Transformers.
Right. I agree on that. But yeah, they didn't last. They went head to head. GoBots was coming out on top for a while, but then they didn't quite make it. And then we get to the controversial movie in the theaters that every little kid was not expecting what happened in that movie.
I kind of liked it. That's why I thought, even back then, like that's what I thought made it so good was that like that where good guys don't always like live, right? They don't have that armor. They don't have plot armor.
Right. Well, the guy who made the movie, like, he was like, we got to come in here and do something different and everything else. And the toy company, I think at that time they were trying to bring out like new characters. Well, what better way to do that than kill everybody off? Right. So, I mean, obviously what we're talking about is you had a couple of Autobots die, and then the saddest thing in kids' history next to Atreyu's horse sinking in Neverending Story was the death of Optimus Prime.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what was the name of that horse again?
Artax.
That's right. Kristen and I are always trying to remember that. Artax.
No. Yeah. So so Optimus, they killed Optimus off.
Yeah. So So he was trying to give the thing of leadership to what was that name, the bigger guy, the blue and white guy, I forgot what the name, but he didn't make it in time, and it just fell to the side where Hot Rod, Hot Rod, I guess, that was his name, like accidentally got it. He picked it up, and that's how he became leader. I was like, that's an interesting way to become, like, you're not really chosen. You're kind of like just there. And
wasn't his name Rodimus Prime or something?
When he put the matrix of leadership inside.
Yeah, it was Rodimus Prime, right?
Well, he was originally Hot Rod.
Right, but Rodimus Prime was his name once he became leader,
yes,
right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And a lot of kids didn't resonate with him. It was cool, but
I agree.
But
I was on the same boat.
But I had no problem with Galvatron, though.
No,
I really did.
He got a good upgrade.
Yeah,
definitely good upgrade.
Which he was still a gun.
Yeah,
but he was like a futuristic
gun.
laser.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, I think he had a different. He had a different. Didn't he have a bigger blast or something? Like I forgot. They changed it. They fixed that part where it kind of made sense for him to be a gun.
He was almost like an anti-aircraft gun, like big.
It was a cannon. Yeah, basically it was a cannon.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so they did that really good job. And then you see he comes back as Galvatron and Starscream's like, I'm King. He's like, no, you ain't. And he just kind of dissolves away. Do you remember that? He had the crown on.
Yeah, yep.
And he just shoots it. He's like, anybody else got a problem here? We got a problem? You come at me, bro?
Will anyone else attempt to fill his shoes?
And then that's it. So they reinvented it in that sense. And again, after a while of that kind of started to die out too. The toys started dying out. And then came again, just to throw it out there, I didn't really watch it, so I don't know much about it, was Beast Wars. Yeah, and that's when, like you said, they started doing animals and things like that.
Yeah, so just for the listeners, if anyone's not familiar, anything prior to Beast Wars is called Generation 1. So anything after is Generation 2. So, and yeah, Beast Wars, I didn't watch as much, but I got it. Yeah, it was I kind of know the premise of it. It's basically the ancestors of the original Transformers. It's the date is unknown, but they basically crash land on, I think it's Earth. It should be Earth in an unspecified time.
It's alternate dimensions, dude. You can get away with anything with alternate dimensions.
Yeah, right. So and then the reason why they had to transform to animals because of the radiation wasn't affecting the animals. Some sort of like robot radiation. I forgot what it was called, but it was only affecting. That's why they had to transform into the beasts. So
right
to protect themselves.
And it was groundbreaking, the cartoon at the time, because it was computer generated stuff. So for the time, I mean, you look back at it now, it's a little bit cheesy, but
yeah, for sure, it's crap now. But yeah,
but it was pretty cool at the time.
I don't know. At the time, even then, at the time, I didn't find it. I mean, a lot of other people did as well, but like, I didn't feel like it was anything special. Like at the time, yes, I understand. At the time, not too many people were exposed to CGI, especially kids. But like, I was into computer gaming. You
were always ahead of your time, bro.
Yeah. So I've seen something like that like years before it came out. So a couple years at least. So it's like, it's nothing new, but it's new for TV for sure.
Right, exactly. So and that reinvigorated the line. Toys came out, they were really popular. And then you had years and years of more and more Transformers, which I never thought that it really was as big as it was originally, like the original run of it in the 80s and stuff. It was never that big again after Beast Wars.
Agree.
But then you had what did everybody always want? Like, as time went on, was a live action Transformers movie. Like, as technology got better and stuff, you're like, when are you going to see this for real? And here comes Michael Bay strutting in. And, we had our first Transformers movie.
And I think that was also the age of reboots, right? First movies, like everything was
still there, dude. Have you seen it?
Yeah, but I think it's dying down a little bit now, at least as in terms of consumer wants, right? Like a lot of people.
Let's not stop anybody.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are like, I don't think we need a reboot anymore. So like certain things, fine. Like sometimes you might have to reboot, like for instance, the Marvel stuff, right? Sometimes you might have to reboot just so you set the universe, you set in place, because they had a bigger plan in place. Because that's why I give Marvel a pass on this, because they're trying to set a continuity, right, for their universe and making sure everyone's on the same page on how they started. But like, yeah, just nowadays it's kind of like, all right, we don't need to see a reboot anymore. I would like to see a different version or a reimagining but not really a true reboot, like with the same story.
You might want to tell that to the guy who's writing Thundercats Roar. You might want to give him that little tidbit that you just said.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of reboots that are coming out that are you're not just not looking forward to. So,
what, like Bumblebee?
Oh yeah, I know. Oh, like crap. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. Why? Why do we have to do this again? Why?
It's like we're running out of stuff for now, but how about if we go in the past?
Yeah.
All right, we're back, and Bumblebee is just starting out. Yay! This is what I needed, a whole movie around Bumblebee.
That's,
the next Transformers movie is going to be the guy that originally changed the back rear tire of Bumblebee. There's going to be a whole episode on that.
Yeah, but I think. See, that backstory of Bumblebee, I think I wouldn't mind seeing it if it was a different feel, not the same feel as the Transformers that came out, like the whole series of the new Transformers that came out, the movies that came out, because it's going to be the same style, the same like look, the same transformation. Like I would like to see someone else's version of it, like just a different version, maybe a more simple version, right? Can they match the original feel of the feel of the original cartoons? Right?
You're not going to get simple with Bay. They don't do simple.
That's why I think he's got to get out of the picture. Like, or give it to somebody else. It has to be reimagined.
Give it to Sam Raimi. Like an Evil Dead version of the Transformers. I'll watch that.
I'd watch that too, right?
But so they had a whole bunch of movies. The first one was good, I think, because it was the first one and it was new and different.
And of course, you're a guy, and like all guys, they got boner from watching What's Her Face on there, which she totally did not fit. What was her name? What's the actress?
Megan Fox.
Megan Fox, yeah. I mean, she's hot. I mean, like she's great to look at, but it's like that drew half the audience in, and at least that's why it was such a good quote unquote good movie, right?
Right,
it was part of it.
It was because of her acting, dude. What are you talking about? It was a very dramatic role.
Yeah.
For her to bend over and look under the hood of the car.
Yeah, but, that was totally unnecessary.
And Shiloh, he's a train wreck. We needed him in it too.
Yeah, I think it was okay in the first one. I think it was okay. But
then that's why after the third, by the third, he was gone.
Yeah. So the second one, I wasn't a big fan of his on the second one. So
I wasn't a big fan. I stopped watching it after the third. I own Darker Side. What was it?
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, is the third one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe I watched that, and I haven't watched one since. You had Last Night, and then you had what was the one before Last Night or after? I can't even keep track.
Me neither.
To be honest with you,
I'm saying I watched the first one. I'm saying with you, I watched the first one in the movie theaters. The second one I did too. And everything, I think after that, like after the second one, I just watched it just to see it end. Like most things, like
you want it to be over.
Yeah. I want to see where they go with this, right? Like, and you have a hope that's different somehow, but it's not.
It never is. It's never. All you see is and director Michael Bay, and you're like, I'm done. I'm not watching it.
Exactly.
It's not even worth it. I mean, and you got those diehard. There are diehard Transformer fans. I mean, diehard that still buy toys, that still have them displayed, do all that stuff, and they'll still go to those movies, even if they don't even think if they're not all that interested in the Bumblebee movie. It'll make a ton of money because all those people are going. Because I know a lot of people that are still big. I mean, you go on the car down the street, you run into trucks and stuff that have Transformer stickers all over them and stuff. I mean, it's still big in a retro scene.
Yeah, but how retro really is it? It's like great and all. I'm glad that they did the first at least 2 or 3 movies. It's good to have a trilogy, but like it's not. I don't know. I feel like it should get back to its roots, right? Like the storytelling and like make the transfer, like make it an actual transformation, not just it almost looks like Venom's, symbiote, right? Like almost like forming into something else, a mechanical version of it, rather than an actual like like you could hear in your head, you know, that old
the iconic sound.
Yeah, from the series, right? Yeah, I don't really hear that when I see the transformations in the Transformers, because it feels like it's just like weird. It's more fluid than like mechanical, which in this case I kind of like the mechanical part of it.
Right. Well, two things. First, thank you for saying symbiote, not symbiote. Thank you. That's number one. And number two, you know that Michael Bay listens to our podcast, so go ahead and speak to him directly.
Sure, I would love to have him on. We would love to have you on our podcast, so we have our few questions and comments that we would like to tell.
So if you want to come on, we'll have a special Q&A episode.
We'll do it on the drinking. We'll do drinking at the same time. We'll drink with Michael Bay.
Hey, Michael Bay, you want to get drunk with us and talk Transformers?
There you go.
Mindsetconversation@gmail.com.
That's right. Hit us up. We'd love to hear from you. And we could just go like this.
Right. For everybody who's just listening, you can imagine what he just did.
Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot we have a podcast.
But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, as an adult now, going back, I think I'd have a hard time figuring out how to transform them. I think I lost that. Like as a kid, I was just like, bloop, 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 bloop. I think now if my son was actually into those things, which he's not, I think I'd be like, how the heck do you do this? Because it started to get more complicated as it went along too. So
true,
I was like,
true. But I don't know. Like Optimus I think was easy.
Yeah.
Megatron was difficult, and he is very fragile as well.
Right. Well, he had those nice thick ham legs. I'm being sarcastic because they were thin little rectangles.
With his arms were like really big and thick, right? Like with the bazooka on it, right?
Yeah, he looked like he should have got on a horse. But he had chaps on. But yeah, overall, I did love the Transformers growing up. I watched the cartoon. I watched the original cartoon movie. But I think for me personally, I lost it before, right when Beast Wars came out. I never was into it after that.
I'm kind of the same boat. Like after the movie, I kind of lost interest. I watched a few of the Beast Wars ones, but if I saw that CGI, I didn't see that CGI before, then it probably have more of an impact on me. But it didn't. And even storyline, it was I just kind of lost it on me. So.
Yeah, right. And then they had other iterations of Transformers too. I don't even offhand remember all the different names they had and stuff, but there was a bunch of other series. After Beast Wars, I mean. And there was a couple other movies. I mean, they didn't come out in the theaters or anything, but so there was a lot. The Transformers covered many, many years, but I think as far as the movies, I think we're done. I think they should stop and have somebody else reboot it. Maybe even do a cartoon again, like a cartoon movie, a new one.
That would be cool. I would like to see it as an anime style. That would be
cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Go back to its roots, right? Like, go back to Japan. So, yeah, for sure. Anyway, but yeah, I think we had a fun time with Transformers as our youth. And
one last thing though, before we hang up here, there's a new series actually coming out this year.
New series,
Transformers Cyberverse. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
We'll have to check it out. Maybe we'll have an episode where Mike and I watch it together.
And give our opinions and
comment as we're watching it at the same time. Yeah, our reaction video, right?
Yeah. And
we'll be like all those other YouTubers will be like,
oh my god! Yeah, and maybe like everything else, we'll turn it into a drinking episode.
Yeah, I think we might need the drinking episode for that too. I mean, maybe we could watch it while Michael Bay's with us.
Yeah, drinking. We got a whole thing planned.
Yes. We'll be on a hangout with Michael Bay watching the new Transformers show,
and then we'll have a surprise guest, Frank Weller, and he'll come on as Megatron.
Right. Optimus.
But yeah, seriously, I really enjoyed this episode talking about it and stuff.
One more thing I forgot to tell you, and this kind of brings it full circle. which was interesting. So, and looking for information just information to our listeners and viewers, like Mike and I, we usually have to. I mean, we don't remember this at the top of our head sometimes, so we have to do research on some of these information that we say. But
we don't do too much either. We don't want to sound too smart, so we
right,
just do a little bit.
We don't want, yeah, exactly. We just do a little bit so we don't sound dumb.
But yeah, so we don't say like, "Hey, remember the Decepticons leader Skeletor?"
Which I think we have on our previous shows that we've said something wrong, but it's okay. That's what makes the show unique. We're informational enough, but I think we're here also for the entertainment purposes.
Right, right, exactly. But go ahead, Rob. What were you going to say?
But as looking at this, so like I'm trying to look up information about the comic books, the Transformers comic books, and I'm looking at the editors. I think it's editors. I don't know. I guess he's an editor for. There's two editors that helped for the Transformers comic books. One was one guy, another one was like it said on the wiki page, Ralph Macchio.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is crazy. I look it up. It's a different Ralph Macchio.
It looks nothing like him at all.
I'm like, that'd be freaking crazy. Well, of course, it didn't make sense because he'd be like really young, if at all born at the time. But yeah.
Wasn't the other editor chosen?
You dance like geisha.
You dance very nice. Like geisha.
Oh, dude.
Oh, maybe we'll do an episode on Karate Kid 2 because that's a fun one.
Yeah, that really is. There's a lot of good things in that one, but yeah. But anyway, so everybody.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. For Transformers, this is basically this is it. Go
in a nutshell, yeah. If you have questions or you want to tell us something we said wrong, make sure you comment below.
Yeah, tell us your Transformers. What were your favorite Transformers, right? Like, and why?
Were you an Autobots guy? Were you a Decepticon guy? What?
And did you like dislike Beast Wars as well, or didn't get into it as much as we do? So. And
are you looking forward to the Bumblebee movie?
And are you Michael Bay? Right. Or no Michael Bay?
And if so, give him our email address. We're looking forward to having a couple beers with your Michael Bay and talk about how you should stop directing Transformers. But in all seriousness, thanks guys for listening. Hope you're enjoying the retro episodes on our channel. As usual, check us out on social media and stuff too.
And this has been Podcast Time Machine.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots, please.